One thing I love about the Zelda community is, even though the games are out, even though games have been out for decades now, people are always picking them apart and trying to find meaning behind certain aspects, trying to dig through mysteries and unearth the past of certain games. And with the Breath of the Wild sequel now revealed to be Tears of the Kingdom, a game that's not even out yet, there's loads of people trying to dig into the history of the Zonai, Zelda, Ganondorf, Link, the world of Hyrule at large. And this even started with the first trailer drop. Even though it wasn't long, there was so much to dig through. There's so much hinting at specific things that, as time went on and more trailers came out, theories either got debunked or were compounded and added to, which just made more sense. I'm usually one to kind of theorize in my own way, but there are times where even I can tell that's probably not a thing and I'm stretching a bit too far. But with what I'm coming at you with today, as haphazard and slapped together as this was, although it might not come true and I might miss the mark, I would go as far as to say that this is a decent theory, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. I'll start with one statement that everything kind of revolves around and comes back to, so I'll drop this here now, and that is that I believe the figure we see in the carving is Hylia, and I'll explain why in a second. Now let's start with something that has been around since the beginning, something Skyward Sword established, which has now been canonical through each game in the series. And that is that Demise's curse forces a cycle of hatred. It forces an agent of Demise, the reincarnation of the hero, and the reincarnation of Hylia or Zelda to kind of live this forever conflict where there will always appear an agent of chaos by way of someone like Ganon or Vati, and then it's up to that incarnation of Link to sort it out, and Zelda is there just so the name isn't redundant. No, that's a bit harsh. She plays a part, but you know what I mean. But this cycle has been going on in game history for well over 10,000 years. Now, I'm not willing to hazard a guess how long it was between Skyward Sword and the start of the 10,000 year history in Breath of the Wild. That might already be established, but I'm not super deep and caught up on all of the intricacies of the lore. This is mostly just surface value stuff, so if I do get some information wrong going ahead, I'm sorry, but I believe that the 10,000 year history before Breath of the Wild is wholly unrelated to the original war between the surface and the demons in Skyward Sword. But it has been a constant loop. There has always been some kind of conflict. There's always been a need for a reincarnation of a hero. And I think one of the biggest clues we got to the game so far, and a very obvious one that people have pointed out, is the Ouroboros. Ouroboros typically represents the circle of life and death, things starting and then beginning anew, either depicted by a serpent eating its own tail, or in Tears of the Kingdom's case, two serpents eating each other. And I believe these dragons represent Hylia and Demise. They are just these two all-powerful beings who are now interlocked in an internal conflict. But I also believe it's representative of coming full circle. Like, again, something ends, something begins, or how history cuts off and then repeats itself. Some kind of time travel or time manipulation wise, but I don't think that's the case here, at least not just yet. Essentially, I think in the carvings, when we see what people assume to be Zelda, who is floating in the air, seemingly in some kind of catatonic state, I believe what we may see is after Zelda falls into the pit after Ganon's awakening, she becomes so critically injured and overwhelmed by malice that she has no choice now but to return her form to Hylia, otherwise the cycle breaks and Hylia is killed off. Zelda is the reincarnation of Hylia's mortal form, and when she removed herself from godhood and joined the mortal plane to fight against Demise. If Hylia's physical form dies, that could be the end of the cycle on that part. That would be Demise essentially fulfilling his promise to destroy Hylia. Essentially what I'm saying is I think that the whole point of the story is we travel around and we gather these tears, which are some kind of ancient Zonai technology, which are used in aiding Zelda achieve her Hylia form once again, ascending back from being a mortal being back to Hylia, which is why the Ouroboros is there, which is why the carving shows this creature, this being, holding hands in a circular fashion with Zelda. Because that is essentially them hinting at us that Zelda will ascend once again, which is an allusion to the title of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not the only person who thinks that something's going to happen to Zelda. I think Tears of the Kingdom comes from the fact that the Hylian royal family will end with Zelda, but only in the fact she will reascend to her Hylia original form. And because Hylia is in danger, because Zelda is potentially dying, what we then see is the three golden goddesses, like three beings intrinsically tied to Hylia, panicking a little bit, needing to come up with a solution. And the best solution they have is to fracture the sacred realm and just insert it over Hyrule, which is why these seemingly mysterious floating islands with no real history or backstory that seem so fantastical and out of place and serene and beautiful are now here. They are fragments of the sacred realm in our world now, giving Link an opportunity to perform a task which will potentially save Zelda. And at the end of this, after Zelda ascends back to her Hylia form, that will break the cycle. She will do something that will permanently erase Ganondorf from the timeline, from history, from Hyrule, essentially taking out Demise's biggest key player. It wouldn't surprise me at that point, seeing Hylia's return, that Demise somehow overtakes a newly reborn Ganondorf and leads to this huge final clash. Because with this, the Hylian royal family ends. The age of the Kingdom of Hyrule would end. It might retain its name, but there's going to be a new family or person or bloodline coming to power, which will start a whole new era for Hyrule, breaking the cycle. And that's what I think this game is about. I think Tears of the Kingdom might also kind of allude to the fact that some fans aren't going to be happy about this. Some fans are going to be sorrowful. Like, not angry, not like these are the salty tears of raging gamers and Nintendo are like, num num num, feed me. No. I think this is, fans are going to feel genuinely sad at the transition of this, or at least that this segment of the Hylian Legend of Zelda storyline will end. In this case, the tears are sadness, and the kingdom could be the fan base that the Zelda series has brought up. Because in-game, we have over 10,000 years of history, and in the real world, we have 35 years. We have 3.5 decades of history with the franchise, and such a switch up is a huge deal, and people don't like change. So I think it might even be an allusion to that, but that's where I am stretching, essentially. I don't think I need to dive through all of the deep lore and all of the small intricacies and look at the carving patterns and whatnot, just to kind of give this a little bit of life to reinforce and validate this theory. I think this is something you can deduce just from the carving. I don't think we need to assume that, you know, the Zonai are involved in much more than what it appears to be. I believe the arm Link receives is that of the last Zonai, which was essentially holding Ganondorf back. I believe that the tears are important items that Link has to gather, which are based on some kind of Zonai magic or technology that is specifically made to manipulate time. I believe, and this I might need to dig up something on, but I believe that the tears could be the last few remaining fragments of Time Stone, like legitimate Time Stone, which is why they have that bluish glow to them. Because we assume that they're going to have some kind of tie to Link's new magical abilities, and so far what we've seen from them, they've all been some kind of time manipulation. The giant spiky ball rolling up the hill, we've got the concrete thing reversing time and going back to the Sky Islands. Link's new abilities are going to be revolved around time manipulation in some way, time reversal, speed up, pausing, what have you. It could be the case that essentially what you are doing is a localized time warp on Zelda to the point she becomes Hylia again. Like, these tears, in the way they're used, are super condensed down to return her to Hylia. Like, it's really sad and somber, but Zelda games have never really shied away from that. There's always been some kind of sadness in a Zelda game in one way or another. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'm very excited to see where this goes. Hopefully we get some more information soon. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!